The ruins stretched across the dead planet like broken teeth in a forgotten mouth. Elindra walked through them slowly, her boots crunching on crystallized dust that had once been streets, homes, and dreams. 3,000 years had passed since humans last walked here, yet she remembered it all as if it were yesterday. Her silver-streaked hair moved in the thin wind, and her violet eyes scanned the skeletal remains of towers that once scraped the clouds. This place had a name once. The humans called it New Earth. They built it with hope and ambition, creating a world of gardens floating between spires of glass and steel. Now it was ashen memory. Above her, ash circled in the gray sky. The dragon was massive, his obsidian scales drinking in what little light pierced the eternal dust clouds. Scars marked his hide, each one a story of battle, of survival, of the long years since humanity vanished. He rumbled deep in his chest, a sound that was part warning and part grief. Elindra knelt and touched the ground. Beneath the dust, she felt something solid. She brushed away the debris carefully, revealing a child's toy. A small ship, carved from wood and painted with bright colors that had somehow survived the centuries. She picked it up, turning it over in her hands. She had been here when they left. She remembered the evacuation, the tears, the fear in human eyes as they loaded onto ships and disappeared into the dark. She remembered their promise, too. Come back for us, they had said. Keep the memory alive. But the galaxy forgot. Within a generation, the other species rewrote history. Humans became primitives in the tales, savages who destroyed themselves through war and ignorance. The truth was buried deeper than these ruins. Only Elindra remembered. Only she knew what humans really were. Dangerous, brilliant, unforgiving. She placed the toy back where she found it and stood. Her hand moved to the device hanging from her belt. It was small, no larger than her palm, but it hummed with power that made her skin tingle. Human-made. A gift from a captain who smiled even as her world burned around her. Keep this safe, the woman had said. When the time comes, it will show you the way home. For 3,000 years, the device had been silent. Until today, it pulsed now, warm against her hip, showing coordinates that led beyond known space. Elindra did not understand the technology, but she understood the timing. Something had changed. Something had triggered whatever lay dormant within the metal and light. Ash roared suddenly, a sound that shattered the silence. His massive head swung toward the eastern sky, and Elindra followed his gaze. Ships, dozens of them, dropping from orbit like falling stars. Their hulls gleamed with the purple and gold markings of the Vrexian Empire. Elindra sighed. She had hoped for more time. The ships landed in a circle around her position, their engines scorching the already dead ground. Ramps dropped and soldiers poured out. They were tall insectoid creatures with forearms and chitinous armor that clicked as they moved. Weapons hummed to life, pointed at the lone elf standing among the ruins. A larger ship descended last, more ornate than the others. Its ramp extended like a tongue, and a figure emerged. Commander Zixthar. Elindra recognized him from the bounty postings. He was cruel even by Vrexian standards, known for crushing rebellions with excessive force and taking trophies from conquered worlds. He approached with confidence, his mandibles clicking in what passed for a smile among his kind. Elindra the Ancient, he said, his voice translated by devices that made it sound almost pleasant. You are a legend. I have wanted to meet you for some time. Then you have poor taste in company, Elindra replied. Zixthar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Still sharp after all these years. Tell me, do you know what this place is? Better than you do. A human colony, Zixthar continued, ignoring her tone. Or what remains of one. My empire has claimed this sector. These ruins will be processed, the metals extracted, the land repurposed. Very efficient. This is not your land to claim. The humans are gone, Zixthar said flatly. Dead for 3,000 years. Their claims died with them. Now I will give you a choice. Leave peacefully or we will remove you, and we will take that magnificent creature of yours. My scientists would very much like to study him. Elindra felt Ash tense above her, felt the rage building in his ancient heart. She raised one hand slowly, a calming gesture. You cannot have him, she said quietly, and you cannot have this world. I think you misunderstand the situation. Zixthar gestured, and dozens more weapons trained on Elindra. You are one. We are legion. Your dragon is impressive, but he cannot stand against warships. Elindra reached for the device at her belt. It was hot now, almost burning. The moment her fingers touched it, light exploded outward. The soldiers stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Even Zixthar retreated a step. Holographic images burst into the air around them. A human woman, tall and strong, wearing the uniform of a starship captain. Her eyes were hard but not cruel, determined but not cold. "I am Captain Maya Torres," the hologram said. "If you are seeing this message, then 3 conditions have been met. First, a human world has been violated. Second, the witness still lives. Third, the galaxy has forgotten its debt." Zixthar stared at the image, his mandibles twitching with confusion. "The reckoning protocol is now active," Maya Torres continued. "All human defensive systems have been triggered. All watch posts have transmitted their records. All sleeper ships have received the signal. They are coming home." The hologram flickered and changed, showing coordinates, star charts, navigation data that scrolled too fast for organic eyes to follow. "To whoever stands with our witness," Maya said, looking directly at Alindra, "hold fast. Justice does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. We are coming." The light died. The hologram vanished. Silence fell like a hammer. Zixthar recovered first. "Impossible," he hissed. "The humans are extinct. This is a trick. Some ancient recording triggered by chance. Nothing more." But Alindra saw the doubt in his eyes. She smiled, cold and sharp. "You should have left when you had the chance," she said. Ash struck first. The dragon dropped from the sky like a meteor, talons extended, jaws wide. He hit the nearest warship with the force of a collapsing mountain. Metal screamed and tore. The ship exploded in a fireball that lit the dead world like a newborn sun. Alindra moved as Ash attacked. She was old, yes, but elves aged differently than humans. Her body still remembered the wars, the battles, the desperate fights when humans and elves stood together against impossible odds. Her blade sang as it left its sheath, and the first soldiers fell before they could react. The Vrexians opened fire. Energy bolts filled the air like deadly rain. But Ash was already moving, his massive form twisting between the blasts. His tail swept across a formation of soldiers, sending them flying. His breath, superheated plasma from bioengineered organs, melted another warship into slag. Alindra fought with precision born from millennia of practice. She knew how Vrexians moved, where their armor was weakest, how to turn their strength against them. Her blade found gaps in chitinous plates. Her movements were water, flowing around attacks that would have killed anyone slower. But there were too many. Even as Ash destroyed a third warship, more rose from the surface of the planet. Dozens became hundreds. The sky filled with hostile vessels, all converging on their position. "Ash," Alindra called. "We must go." The dragon understood. He dropped low, and Alindra leapt onto his back between his massive shoulder blades. Her hands found the familiar ridges she had gripped 1,000 times before. Ash launched skyward, his wings beating with desperate strength. Energy weapons fired from all directions. Ash weaved between them, but some found their mark. Alindra felt him shudder as bolts struck his armored hide. Nothing penetrated, but the impacts hurt him. She could feel his pain through their bond. They broke atmosphere with Vrexian ships in pursuit. Ash flew faster than anything organic had a right to fly, pushing his engineered body to its limits. The stars opened before them, cold and distant and uncaring. Behind them, more ships launched from New Earth. Zixthar would not let this insult pass. He would hunt them across the galaxy if necessary. Alindra pulled the device from her belt. It showed a path now, a route through space that twisted and turned, leading toward a region marked in human charts as the Forbidden Zone. No ships returned from there. No signals emerged. It was empty space, avoided by all who valued their lives. But the device insisted. "This way, come home. Can you make it?" Alindra asked Ash, leaning close to his scales. The dragon rumbled his answer. For her, he would fly until his wings turned to dust. For the humans who made him, who gave him purpose, he would cross the galaxy itself. They flew into the dark, leaving the dead world behind. The Vrexian fleet followed, a swarm of angry lights against the black. But Alindra felt no fear. She felt something she had not experienced in 3,000 years. Hope. The humans were coming home, and the galaxy would learn what that meant. Behind them, on the dead world called New Earth, the ruins remained silent. But in the dust, the small wooden ship toy caught a breeze and rolled slightly, as if pushed by an invisible hand, as if some ghost of the past approved of what had begun. The reckoning had started, and nothing in the galaxy would be the same. The stars blurred past as Ash flew deeper into uncharted space. Alindra clung to his back. feeling his muscles work beneath scales harder than any known metal. Behind them, the Vrexian pursuit ships had fallen away hours ago, unable to match the dragon's impossible speed. But she knew they would not give up. Zixthar was many things, but a quitter was not one of them. The device in her hand pulsed steadily now, its rhythm matching her heartbeat. The coordinates led them toward a region of space that every star chart marked with warnings. The Forbidden Zone. Sensor-deadening nebulae stretched across dozens of light years, swallowing ships and signals alike. Nothing that entered ever sent word back. It was the perfect place to hide. Ash slowed as they approached the outer edges of the nebula. The gas clouds stretched before them like walls of purple and crimson smoke, lit from within by dying stars. Even from here, Alindra could feel the wrongness of the place. Energy fields twisted in ways that hurt to perceive. Space itself seemed to resist their presence. Easy, Alindra whispered to Ash. We go slow. The dragon rumbled his agreement and folded his wings, gliding toward the nebula edge. As they crossed the threshold, everything changed. The stars vanished. The comfortable darkness of space became something thick and oppressive. Alindra's skin crawled with static electricity. The device grew warmer in her hand, its light intensifying. It projected a path through the chaos, a safe route that twisted and turned through pockets of normal space. Ash followed it with complete trust, his massive form sliding through gaps that seemed too small for him. Hours passed in the strange twilight of the nebula. Alindra saw things in the gas clouds that made no sense, shipwrecks that looked brand new despite being ancient, asteroid fields arranged in perfect geometric patterns, energy discharges that moved with purpose as if alive. Then Ash stopped suddenly, his head turning toward something Alindra could not see. What is it? She asked. The dragon did not answer, but he changed course slightly. 5 minutes later, Alindra saw it too. A station. Not a natural formation, but a constructed habitat, floating alone in a pocket of clear space. It looked old but functional, its hull pitted by micrometeorites, but its lights still burning. As they approached, a voice crackled over every communication frequency simultaneously. Stop right there or I start shooting. Alindra blinked in surprise. The voice was human. Or at least it sounded human. But that was impossible. Humans had been gone for 3,000 years, I mean it, the voice continued. I have weapons locked on you and your dragon friend. State your business or turn around. I am Alindra, she called back. I carry a device that led me here. I mean no harm. Silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then the voice spoke again, softer this time, confused. Alindra? The Alindra? The one from the old stories? I suppose that depends on which stories you have heard. More silence. Then a different sound. Docking clamps extending and airlock cycling open. Come in, the voice said. But if this is a trick, know that I have lived alone here for 20 years and I am very good at killing things that annoy me. Ash landed on the docking platform with surprising grace for something his size. The airlock was large enough to accommodate him barely. Alindra dismounted and followed the dragon inside. The artificial gravity felt strange after hours of flight, solid and reassuring. The interior of the station was a mess. Equipment covered every surface, half-dismantled machines mixed with ancient computers and jury-rigged power systems. But beneath the chaos, Alindra recognized the architecture. Human design, clean lines and efficient use of space built for function over form. A woman emerged from behind a stack of supply crates. She was young, perhaps 30 standard years, with dark hair pulled back in a practical knot. Her clothes were patched and worn, her hands scarred from mechanical work, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent, missing nothing. I am Kate Reyes, the woman said, and you should not be here. Nobody should be here. The device brought me, Alindra replied, showing the artifact. Kate's eyes widened. She stepped forward slowly as if approaching something sacred. Where did you get that? Her voice shook slightly. A human captain gave it to me, 3,000 years ago, just before your people left. Kate reached out but did not touch the device. Her hand trembled in the air between them. That is the beacon, she whispered. My mother told me about it. Her mother told her. It has been passed down in stories for generations. We thought it was lost. We thought everything was lost, your mother. Alindra studied Kate more carefully. You are human? I am descended from humans, Kate corrected. My ancestors were part of the evacuation. But not everyone made it to the main fleet. Some ships broke down, some got separated. My family ended up here in this station. too deep in the forbidden zone to find their way out. We have survived. We have waited. But we have also forgotten so much. She gestured for them to follow her deeper into the station. They entered a room that was cleaner than the rest, almost shrine-like. On a table sat a book, handwritten, its pages yellowed with age. My mother's journal, Kate explained, and her mother's before her. Everything they remembered about the old days. About why humans left, about what really happened. Elindra picked up the journal carefully. The first page was dated 3,000 years ago, written in shaking handwriting that spoke of fear and loss. She read for hours while Kate and Ash waited in patient silence. The story that emerged was nothing like what the galaxy believed. Humans had not destroyed themselves. They had been attacked. The elder races, fearing human potential and ambition, had formed a secret alliance. They planned to enslave humanity, to break them before they could become a threat. But humans learned of the plot, and humans did what humans do best: they fought. And when they could not win, they adapted. The Reckoning Protocol was not a weapon. It was an escape plan. Every human world, every colony, every ship received the same order simultaneously. Leave. Take everything. Let them think they won. And then in the dark spaces beyond their reach, humanity would do what it always did. They would survive. They would grow stronger. They would remember. The journal spoke of massive generation ships, thousands of them disappearing into dark space. It spoke of technology that bent the laws of physics, of weapons that could unmake stars, of a fury so cold it burned hotter than any sun. And it spoke of a promise. When the galaxy violated what humans left behind, when the graves were desecrated and the memory was spat upon, the Reckoning Protocol would activate. Humanity would return, not to reclaim what was theirs, to take everything. Elindra closed the journal slowly. They are not coming back to rebuild, she said quietly. They are coming back for revenge, Kate nodded. My ancestors left sensors scattered across the galaxy. They have been watching, recording. Every crime, every broken promise, every world taken that should have been left alone. The threshold was reached. Now they come. Ash stirred, drawing their attention. The dragon's eyes glowed with an inner light, and when he spoke, his voice resonated not in their ears but in their minds. I am not merely a dragon, Ash said, each word heavy with meaning. I am a sentinel, created by human hands, bonded to Elindra when she saved human children during the purge. I have watched. I have counted. I have waited for the signal. Kate and Elindra both stared at him. In all their years together, Ash had never spoken in words. He communicated through emotion and intent, through the bond he shared with Elindra. But now his true nature revealed itself. The humans made me to remember what organics forget, Ash continued. Every violation, every betrayal. I carry the evidence written into my very cells. When the reckoning comes, I will bear witness. How long? Elindra asked. How long until they arrive? Ash turned his massive head toward her. The signal went out when you activated the beacon. The fleet was already moving. They will be here soon, very soon. Kate moved to a computer terminal and began typing rapidly. Data flooded the screens, showing sensor readings from across the nebula. There, she said, pointing. The relay station. It is deep in the forbidden zone at the center of the nebula. If the beacon activated, that is where the signal originated. We need to go there. Why? Elindra asked. Because that is where we can communicate with them, where we can tell them what is happening out here, where we might be able to stop this before the galaxy burns. Elindra looked at the journal, then at Kate, then at Ash. You want to stop them? Elindra asked carefully. Your own people? Kate's face was conflicted, torn between loyalty to ancestors she never met and the only galaxy she had ever known. I want them to know that not everyone forgot, Kate said, that some of us kept the memory alive. That maybe, just maybe, there is another way besides total war. Ash rumbled deep in his chest. The relay will not stop the fleet, but it will allow communication. The decision is yours, Witness. Elindra had not been called that in centuries. Witness, the one who remembered, the one who kept the truth alive when all others lied. She had accepted that burden 3,000 years ago, never imagining it would lead here. We go to the relay, Elindra decided. Kate, can you fly? I have a ship, Kate replied. Small but fast. And I know the safe paths through the nebula. Follow me. They left the station together, Kate in her battered but functional spacecraft, Elindra riding Ash, who followed close behind. The Joe. The signal spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every major power detected it simultaneously. Every sensor array, every deep space monitoring station, every military installation registered the same impossible transmission. It came from the Forbidden Zone, that dead region of space where nothing lived and nothing returned. And it was broadcasting in human code. On the Vrexian homeworld, Commander Zixthar stood before the Council of Supremacy. The insectoid leaders clicked their mandibles in agitation as data scrolled across holographic displays. The signal was not just a message. It was a key that unlocked dormant systems scattered across the galaxy. Systems that had been invisible for 3,000 years suddenly revealed themselves, monitoring stations on every former human world. Sensor networks embedded in asteroid fields, relay satellites hiding in plain sight among navigational beacons. All of them had been watching, recording, gathering evidence. How is this possible? The Supreme Leader demanded. We swept those worlds clean. We found nothing. Zixthar's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. The humans hid their technology well, better than we understood. These devices have been dormant, passive, impossible to detect. Until now, what have they recorded? Everything. Zixthar pulled up a data file. Every ship movement, every transmission, every action taken on or near former human territories. 3,000 years of evidence. The council chamber fell silent. Then the Supreme Leader spoke, his voice cold. Then the humans know what we have done. They know about the mining operations, the colony seizures, the historical revisionism. They know we claimed their worlds as if they were ours by right. Yes, Zixthar confirmed. How long until they arrive? Based on the signal propagation and response time, we estimate 72 hours. Perhaps less. The Supreme Leader's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. Contact the other powers. The Crystalline Collective, the Hive Mind Swarm, all of them. If the humans kept records on us, they kept records on everyone. We face this threat together or we fall separately. Similar conversations occurred across the galaxy. On crystal worlds where silicon-based life forms communed through resonance. In bioships where the hive mind swarm's collective consciousness writhed with unusual fear. On trade stations where neutral species suddenly realized their neutrality might not save them. Within hours, an emergency summit was called. The location was the Nexus, a massive station at the galactic core where all major species maintained embassies. It had been built on the ruins of a human diplomatic station, a fact that now seemed ominous. The Great Hall filled with representatives from every corner of known space. Vrexians stood beside their ancient enemies from the Crystalline Collective. The hive mind sent a speaker drone. Even the reclusive void dwellers emerged from their dark territories to attend. Commander Zixthar took the central podium. His voice amplified across the hall. We face an extinction-level threat, he began. The humans are returning, and they are not coming in peace. Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowd. Some species thought humans were myths. Others believed they had destroyed themselves. But the evidence was undeniable. Zixthar played the recordings from New Earth, showed the activation of the beacon, displayed the signal that had awakened the dormant network. They have been watching us, Zixthar continued. Every crime we committed, they recorded. Every treaty we broke, they documented. Every human grave we desecrated, they noted. We are not facing an invasion. We are facing judgment. A crystalline representative, its body chiming with distress, spoke up. What do you propose? Unity, Zixthar said simply. We pool our military resources. We fortify the approaches to the Forbidden Zone. We meet them with overwhelming force before they can fully deploy. We show them that the galaxy is no longer theirs to command. The hall erupted in debate. Some argued for diplomacy. Others demanded immediate military action. A few suggested fleeing to the galactic rim and hoping humanity would not pursue. But eventually, fear won. Fear of the unknown. Fear of retribution. Fear of what humans might have become during 3,000 years in the dark. The alliance formed quickly. Every major military power contributed ships. The fleet that assembled at the edge of the Forbidden Zone was the largest in galactic history. Thousands of vessels from dozens of species, all armed with the most advanced weapons their civilizations could produce. They took position and waited. On the relay station, Elindra watched the galactic response unfold through the monitoring systems Kate had activated. The screen showed ship movements, communications intercepts, fleet deployments. The galaxy was mobilizing for war. They are afraid, Kate said quietly. They know they did wrong and now they fear the consequences. Elindra studied the tactical displays. The combined fleet was impressive, far larger than anything that existed when humans left. But she had fought beside humans. She knew how they thought, how they adapted, how they turned enemy strengths into weaknesses. This fleet will not be enough, Elindra said. Ash rumbled his agreement from where he rested near the reactor core. The dragon's wounds from their escape were healing but slowly. Even his engineered biology had limits. Kate turned away from the screens, her face troubled. We have to try to stop this. Both sides. Before the shooting starts. How? Elindra asked. The galaxy has chosen its path, and the humans chose theirs 3,000 years ago. But what about the innocent ones? Kate's voice rose with emotion. The species that were not even spacefaring when humans left. The ones who inherited this mess without knowing its history. Do they deserve to die for crimes their ancestors committed? Elindra had no answer. She had lived long enough to see generations rise and fall. She understood that children were not guilty of their parents' sins. But she also understood human nature. Humanity did not forgive easily, and after 3,000 years of exile, after watching their legacy be erased and their graves be plundered, their patience would be gone. I was there when they left, Elindra said finally. I saw their faces. They were not angry then. They were heartbroken. The galaxy they tried to join, tried to build with, tried to share space with peacefully had turned on them, betrayed them, tried to enslave them. They left not because they were weak, but because they refused to become the monsters their enemies claimed they were. And now, Kate asked, now they have had 3,000 years to think about what was done to them. 3,000 years to prepare. 3,000 years to decide what justice looks like. Elindra looked at the young woman. I do not think they will be merciful. Before Kate could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The monitoring systems flashed urgent warnings. Something was emerging from deep space. Something massive. They rushed to the observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the nebula itself seeming to part. Space rippled like disturbed water, and then it appeared, a single ship. It was not large by capital ship standards. Perhaps 300 meters long, sleek and angular. Its hull was black, so dark it seemed to absorb light itself. No markings adorned its surface except for one symbol near the bow. A human symbol. Ancient letters that spelled a single word. Reckoning. That is it? Kate whispered. One ship? But Elindra felt something else. A pressure in the air. A weight that had nothing to do with gravity. Power radiated from that vessel like heat from a star. Whatever humans had become in the dark, it was not weaker than what they were. The ship did not approach the station. Instead, it oriented itself toward the edge of the Forbidden Zone, toward where the combined galactic fleet waited. They are going to fight, Kate breathed. No, Elindra corrected. They are going to send a message. On the command ship of the Allied fleet, Commander Zixthar received the sensor reports with disbelief. One ship? He repeated. They send one ship? His tactical officer confirmed. A single vessel, small by our standards. It is approaching our position at sublight speeds. Arrogance, Zixthar hissed. They think one ship can intimidate this fleet. All weapons prepare to fire on my command. We will vaporize this scout and then push into the Forbidden Zone. End this before it begins. But as the human ship drew closer, something strange happened. Every sensor system in the fleet began receiving the same transmission. Not audio, not video. Just text appearing simultaneously on every screen in every language. You were judged. You were found wanting. Humanity has returned. You have 1 hour to withdraw from all former human territories, Zixthar laughed. They give us ultimatums. Weapons, fire at will. The combined fleet opened fire. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands of weapons. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic rounds, exotic matter warheads. Enough firepower to crack a planet. All focused on one small black ship. The human vessel did not dodge. It did not raise shields. It did not maneuver. The weapons simply stopped working, not all at once. One by one, like candles being snuffed out. Energy weapons powered down. Missiles veered off course and detonated harmlessly in empty space. Kinetic rounds slowed and stopped as if hitting invisible walls. Within 30 seconds, every weapon system in the fleet went dark. Then the ships themselves began dying. Life support remained. Artificial Gravity C. Kate's ship moved through the field of disabled vessels like a small fish among sleeping giants. All around them, the Allied fleet hung motionless in space, their crews trapped inside metal coffins that refused to obey commands. Elindra could see faces pressed against viewports, watching their tiny vessel pass with expressions of fear and desperate hope. Ash flew alongside the ship, his massive wings folded close to his body. The dragon's presence seemed to part the void itself, his bioengineered form radiating power that made nearby ships shudder even in their disabled state. Ahead, the human fleet waited in perfect formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering that made the Allied ships look like crude toys. Their hulls shifted and changed, adapting to threats that did not yet exist. Energy fields flickered across their surfaces in patterns that hurt to observe directly. As they approached, a targeting lock fixed on their ship. Kate's hands tightened on the controls, but she did not stop. She had come too far to turn back now. A voice filled their communications system, cool, professional, utterly calm. Unidentified vessel, you are entering a restricted military zone. State your identity and purpose. I am Kate Reyes, Kate replied, her voice stronger than she felt. Descendant of human refugees. I carry Elindra the Ancient, witness to humanity's exodus, and Ash, the sentinel dragon created by your ancestors. We request permission to speak with Admiral Okonkwo. Silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then the voice returned. Approach the flagship, Docking Bay 7. Any hostile action will result in immediate termination. Welcome home, Kate Reyes. The largest human vessel opened a bay door, and Kate guided her ship inside. The docking process was smooth, assisted by technology that made her own systems seem primitive. When the airlock cycled, she, Elindra, and Ash stepped into a corridor that looked both familiar and alien. Human design, yes, but evolved beyond anything from the old days. The walls seemed alive, shifting subtly to accommodate their passage. Gravity adjusted automatically to their comfort. The air tasted clean and fresh, recycled through systems that left no trace of mechanical origin. Guards waited for them. Humans, but not quite as Elindra remembered. They were taller, their movements too precise, their eyes reflecting light in ways that suggested enhancement beyond the organic. They wore armor that flowed like liquid metal, and they carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Follow us, one guard said. Her voice was pleasant but carried an undertone of absolute authority. They walked through corridors that curved and twisted in directions that should not exist in normal space. Elindra realized the ship was larger on the inside than outside, folding space within itself in ways that defied physics as she understood it. Finally, they reached a command chamber. It was vast, filled with holographic displays showing tactical information, stellar maps, and real-time feeds from across the galaxy. Officers worked at stations that responded to thought as much as touch, and in the center on a raised platform stood Admiral Claire Okonkwo. She was exactly as she appeared in the transmission. Tall and strong, her dark skin unmarred by age despite what must have been decades of service. Her uniform was simple but elegant, marked with insignia that spoke of rank and honor. Her eyes, when they fell on the visitors, were calculating but not cold. Elindra the Ancient, Claire said, her voice carrying easily across the chamber. The witness who kept our memory alive. I have read the reports. Every human knows your name. You have our gratitude. Elindra bowed slightly, unsure of proper protocol after so long. I only did what I promised. I remembered when others forgot. Claire's gaze shifted to Kate. And you, a child of the lost ones. We thought all the separated ships had perished. Your survival is remarkable. My family endured, Kate said, waiting for this day, hoping you would return. We have returned, Claire confirmed, as promised. As was always inevitable. She gestured and holographic displays activated around them. Would you like to see what we found? The displays showed evidence. 3,000 years of recorded crimes. Phyrexian forces strip mining human colony worlds, destroying habitats that had taken generations to terraform, crystalline collective vessels glassing planets where human structures remained, erasing history itself. The hive mind swarm consuming genetic libraries that held irreplaceable human DNA samples, enslavement of species that humans had uplifted and protected, genocide of civilizations that refused to accept the new galactic order, historical revisionism that painted humans as primitive warmongers, who destroyed themselves through ignorance. Every crime was documented. Every violation recorded. Every grave desecrated, noted, and filed. This is what the galaxy became in our absence, Claire said quietly. This is what they built on the ashes of our legacy. Tell me, Alindra, as a witness, as one who stood with us and suffered for it, do they deserve mercy? Alindra looked at the evidence. She had seen some of it firsthand. The rest she had suspected but could not prove. Now it lay bare, undeniable and damning. Many are guilty, Alindra said carefully, but not all. Some species were not even spacefaring when you left. Some opposed these actions but were too weak to stop them. Some are children, inheriting crimes they did not commit. Complicity through inaction is still complicity, Claire replied. They benefited from our erasure. They lived in homes built on our graves. That is not innocent, Kate stepped forward. But is punishment the answer? You could destroy them all. Your technology clearly surpasses theirs. But what would that make you? What would you become if you committed the same genocide you fled from? Claire's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Pain, perhaps, or recognition. We debated this, she said, for centuries. What justice looks like. What it means to return. Some advocated for total war, complete erasure. Others suggested selective strikes, removing leadership while sparing populations. We settled on a middle path, she gestured again. New displays appeared, showing human demands. Return of all former human territories. Liberation of all enslaved species. War crime tribunals for those who directly ordered or committed atrocities. Reparations paid in resources and technology. Human oversight of galactic governance for a period of no less than 5 centuries. These are our terms, Claire said. Non-negotiable. Accept them and the killing stops here. Refuse and we will take what we demand by force. And if they fight, Alindra asked, then they die. All of them. We have weapons that can unmake suns. Technologies that can sterilize entire sectors. We would rather not use them, but we will if forced. Ash spoke then, his mental voice resonating through the chamber. What of me? What is my purpose now that you have returned? Claire turned to the dragon with something like reverence. You are a hero, Ash. You kept watch when we could not. You protected the witness when she needed you. Your service is complete. You may rest. I do not wish to rest, Ash replied. I wish to see this through. To witness the end as I witnessed the beginning, Claire nodded. Then you shall. You have earned that right. Before anyone could speak further, alarms shrieked throughout the ship. Officers spun to their stations, their enhanced reflexes creating a blur of motion. Displays lit up with urgent warnings. Admiral, an officer called out. The Allied fleet. They are attempting something. Energy readings are spiking across multiple vessels. Claire's expression hardened. Show me. The main display changed, showing the disabled Allied fleet. But some ships were lighting up. Systems reactivating not through normal means but through something else. Something that made space itself shudder and twist. Reality distortion detected, another officer reported. They are activating forbidden technology. Alindra felt her blood turn cold. She recognized those energy signatures. She had seen them once before, millennia ago, during the darkest days of the ancient war. Reality breakers, she whispered. They are using reality breakers. Claire turned to her sharply. Explain. Weapons banned by all civilized species, Alindra said quickly. They tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Uncontrollable. Unstoppable once activated. They were sealed away after the last galactic war because they threatened to unravel reality itself. And they are using them now. Claire's voice was ice. Do they not understand what will happen? In the Allied fleet, Commander Zixthar stood on his bridge as his engineers worked frantically at jury-rigged control panels. When the humans disabled his fleet, they had not known about the old weapons. Ancient devices hidden in secret compartments, powered by isolated systems that operated independently of the main network. He had sworn never to use them. The cost was too high, but faced with extinction or submission, Zixthar chose a third option. If humanity wanted to judge the galaxy, they would burn together. Activate the devices, he commanded. All of them, simultaneously. His crew hesitated. They knew what those weapons did, but they also knew their commander. They obeyed. Across dozens of ships, reality breakers activated. Space began to crack like glass under pressure. Fractures spread from each weapon. Lines of pure nothing that consumed matter and energy alike. The fractures reached toward each other, connecting, expanding, creating a growing wound in the universe itself, on the human ing. The reality fractures tore across space like lightning frozen in time. Each crack pulsed with colors that had no names, energies that should not exist in normal space. Kate pushed her ship forward, deeper into the chaos, while Ash flew beside her with wings that seemed to cut through dimensions. Alindra stood in the cockpit, holding the artifact with both hands. It burned hot now, almost too hot to hold, but she refused to let go. The device vibrated with power, resonating with frequencies that made her bones ache. Through the viewport, she could see ships dissolving at the edges of the fractures, their matter simply ceasing to be. "We need to get closer," Alindra said, "to the exact center where all the fractures meet." Kate's knuckles were white on the controls. "That will kill us." "Perhaps," Alindra agreed. "But if we do not try, everyone dies. The fractures will not stop spreading. They will consume this sector, then the next, then the entire galaxy. Reality itself will unravel." Kate took a deep breath and pushed the throttle forward. Her ship shuddered as it pierced the outer layers of distorted space. Alarms screamed warnings about hull stress and dimensional instability. She ignored them all. Ash roared and accelerated ahead of them. The dragon's bioengineered body was designed to withstand extremes, but even he struggled against forces that were tearing existence apart. His scales began to smoke, energy bleeding off him in visible waves. They reached the convergence point, a sphere of absolute chaos where reality had given up trying to maintain itself. Inside that sphere, the laws of physics were suggestions at best. Time moved in circles. Gravity pointed in directions that did not exist. Light bent back on itself until it screamed. "Now," Alindra commanded. "Kate, link your systems to mine. Ash, position yourself between us and the worst of it." The dragon obeyed instantly, his massive form wrapping partially around Kate's ship. His body became a living shield, his scales absorbing punishment that would have vaporized the vessel in microseconds. Kate's fingers flew across her controls, establishing connections between her ship's computers and the artifact Alindra held. The old technology and new technology fought each other for a moment, incompatible and hostile. Then Kate found the right frequency, the correct protocol buried in her family's inherited knowledge. The system synchronized. "I have it," Kate breathed. "The bridge is active." Alindra closed her eyes and focused. The artifact was not just a tool. It was a key, a way to access the fundamental code of reality itself. The humans who created it had understood something profound about the universe. They knew that existence was not fixed but fluid, maintained by invisible rules that could be rewritten if you knew the language. She poured her will into the device, not just her strength but her memories, 3,000 years of keeping faith, of remembering when others forgot, of holding on to truth when lies were easier. All of that conviction, that stubborn refusal to give up, flowed into the artifact. It responded. Light erupted from the device, not normal light, but something deeper. The light of creation itself, the energy that existed before stars were born. It spread outward in waves, touching the fractures. Where the light met the tears in reality, something remarkable happened. The fractures began to heal, not quickly but steadily, like wounds closing under careful treatment. Space remembered how to be space. Time recalled its proper direction. The fundamental forces of nature reasserted themselves, but the cost was immense. Alindra felt the energy draining from her body. The artifact was not just using the power she gave it. It was converting her very life force into the stabilization field. She was burning herself as fuel to save reality. "Alindra!" Kate shouted, seeing her companion stagger. "You are killing yourself." "I know," Alindra replied calmly. "But it is working. Keep the connection stable." Ash rumbled in pain and determination. The dragon was suffering too. The energies washing over him were cooking him from the inside out. His scales cracked and bled. His wings tore at the edges, but he held position, refusing to move, refusing to let the chaos reach his companions. Through the pain, through the sacrifice, the artifact continued its work. More fractures sealed. More of reality stabilized. The sphere of chaos began to shrink. In his disabled ship, Commander Zixthar watched his plan fail. The reality breakers were shutting down not because he willed it, but because something was overpowering them. The human artifact, whatever it was, proved stronger than weapons designed to unmake creation. He had gambled everything and lost. Rage filled him. blind, desperate rage. If he could not win with reality breakers, then he would win through brute force. His ship's reactor, isolated from the main systems, still functioned. He could overload it, detonate it in the heart of the human fleet, take some of them with him in death. His hands moved toward the controls. One final act of defiance. One last strike against the species that dared judge him. But before he could complete the sequence, Ash moved. The dragon, despite his injuries, despite the pain that racked his body, sensed Zixthar's intention. The bioengineered senses that humans built into him detected the reactor spike, and Ash did what he was created to do. He protected. The dragon released his hold on Kate's ship and flew directly at Zixthar's vessel. He hit it like a meteor, claws sinking into the hull, jaws clamping onto the reactor section. The ship tumbled end over end, spinning away from the human fleet. Zixthar screamed as his ship was torn apart around him. He fired the overload anyway, a final vindictive act. The reactor exploded with the force of a small star, but Ash's body contained the blast. The dragon's scales, designed to withstand the heat of stellar cores, held just long enough. The explosion vented into space rather than toward the fleets. The shockwave dissipated harmlessly. When the light faded, Ash fell. His body, broken and burned, tumbled toward a nearby moon. He did not have the strength to fly anymore. He could barely breathe, but he had succeeded. The threat was ended. On Kate's ship, Alindra felt Ash's pain through their bond. Tears streamed down her face as she continued to channel power through the artifact. She wanted to go to him, to help him, but she could not stop now, not when they were so close. Almost there, she whispered. "Hold on, my friend. Just a little longer." The last fracture sealed with a sound like the universe sighing in relief. Reality snapped back into its proper configuration. Space was space again. Time flowed correctly. The laws of physics reasserted their authority. Alindra collapsed. The artifact fell from her hands, its light dimming. She had given everything she had and more. Her body was shutting down, systems failing one by one. Kate caught her before she hit the deck. "No, no, no. You cannot die. Not after all this." But even as Kate held her, a bright light filled the cockpit. Not from the artifact. From outside. Kate looked up and saw a human medical ship approaching, moving with impossible speed. It docked with her vessel in seconds. Doors opened and medical personnel in advanced suits poured in. "We have her," one said, gently taking Alindra from Kate's arms. "Admiral Okonkwo sent us the moment you began the stabilization." She knew the cost would be high. They placed Alindra on a floating stretcher that immediately began treatment. Nanomachines flowed into her body, repairing damage at the cellular level. Stimulants restarted her failing organs. Synthesized blood replaced what she had lost. "Will she live?" Kate asked desperately. "She will," the medic confirmed. "Humans do not forget their debts. She saved us all. We will save her." Another team was already departing in a shuttle, racing toward the moon where Ash had fallen. The dragon lay in a crater, his body smoking and broken, but his chest still rose and fell. He still lived. The medical teams worked with efficiency born from 3,000 years of advancement. They stabilized Ash's condition, sealed his wounds, and began the long process of healing. It would take time, but he would recover. Across the battle space, the human fleet moved through the disabled Allied vessels. But they did not fire weapons. Instead, they deployed repair teams. Humans boarded the ships, restoring life support, fixing damaged systems, providing medical aid to injured crews. Admiral Claire Okonkwo broadcast a message to every vessel. "The crisis is over," she said. "Commander Zixthar is dead, killed by his own madness. The reality breakers are neutralized. Your fleets are disabled, but your people live. Now you face a choice. Accept our terms and begin building a better galaxy, or refuse and face the consequences. You have 24 hours to decide." The response came within 6 hours. Every major power agreed to the terms. They would withdraw from human territories. They would face tribunals for war crimes. They would accept human oversight. They had no other choice. But more than that, many realized they did not want another choice. The old ways had led to this moment of near annihilation. Perhaps it was time for something different. The transition was not easy. Empires do not fall overnight. But over the following months, the galaxy began to change. Human ships patrolled former human Wu.